What's up guys, and welcome to episode number 8 of the F1 Legends Career Mode. Here today for the final round of the season in Europe for the Italian Grand Prix at the famous Monza circuit. Of course, the home of Ferrari. They will be looking to have a very good Grand Prix. And here we can see the famous old circuit, one of the most famous in the whole calendar, and how could we not include it on this calendar? Make sure to smash a like if you are still enjoying this series. Of course, we've got 3 rounds to go and we should finish it by the end of this week. But without further ado, let's see what happened in qualifying. So as you can see, it was a cloudy qualifying session, and once again we are going to ride on board with the pole lap, and in front of the Tifosi, the 7 times world champion Michael Schumacher stuck it on pole for Ferrari, and we are going to take a look at his lap here in 8th gear, maxing out towards the first chicane, and you can see there breaking down into 3rd gear, not quite clipping that second apex, but you don't want to unsettle the car there, and he gets a very nice run now as we go through the Curva Grande in 7th and then up to 8th gear. You can see accumulating a lot of speed, and of course engine power is vital around this circuit, braking just underneath the bridge for the second chicane, once again clipping both of the curbs and running it out a little bit wide there to give himself the widest exit for the first Lesmo. You can see there once again clipping the inside and the outside curb before going onto the second Lesmo now, and unleashing it onto the second DRS zone. Of course, there's one on the pit straight and then one on this back straight. Now you just go underneath the old circuit before bracing yourself for the Ascari chicane, one of the most famous corners in the whole of Formula 1. You can see clipping all of the apexes once again. It has been a perfect lap from Schumacher so far, and as he goes down the back straight, just one more corner to prepare for the famous Parabolica, and now he shifts down into 5th gear, holding it in there before running it out wide. Of course, it used to be a gravel trap on the outside. It is now just tarmac, but on the run to the line, a brilliant lap from Schumacher for pole position. So as we look down the rest of the grid, you can see that it was a Ferrari 1-2 on home turf, with Senna in 3rd place, followed by the 2 Mercedes. It was disappointing for both of us Red Bull guys. You can see Vettel all the way there down in 11th. Farina and Andretti, though, managed to make it into the top 10 at their home races for Alfa Romeo. And there you can see we are languishing in P13. Very disappointing for us, but we're going to have to make up as much as we can in the race. So here we are then for the Italian Grand Prix. It is time for the race. And after a pole qualifying, you can see we're starting outside of the top 10, and it's going to be interesting to see what strategies a lot of different drivers are going to run. But yeah, you can see the sun is out. There is a little bit of rain predicted possibly at the end of the race. We're not quite sure at the moment whether it is actually going to dodge sort of the circuit, or you know, whether we're going to get it during the race or after the race. That is the question. But there you can see now that Vettel, who is starting P11, is on the mediums, and also Alan Jones in P12. We have decided to go for the softs. Of course, the super softs are also available, so we've gone for a different strategy. In fact, everybody outside the top 10 has gone for the mediums, apart from myself, who's on the softs, and then, of course, everyone in the top 10 is on the super softs. You can see the driver standings there on the right-hand side. We are currently leading the way by just 5 points from Niki Lauda, and Emerson Fittipaldi sitting there in 3rd, but he is a long way back. It is looking like a 2-way fight, but at the moment, Niki Lauda has very much taken the upper hand. He's starting from P2, we are starting from P13. So now, as we rev up to the 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix, can we make up some positions off the start? Away we go now. And obviously on the soft tyres, everyone else is on the mediums. It should be a good start, and we make up some ground on our teammate as we go towards turn 1. Are we going to be able to make a move down the inside? We were actually quite cautious going into turn 1, but in the second phase we managed to make up a little bit of ground. The bottleneck of turn 1 and 2, well, it has one victim, and that is Sebastian Vettel, our teammate, who is going to be pretty much at the back of the grid now. Such an unfortunate start for him, but we have made up 2 positions up into P11, and only behind all of the super soft runners at the moment, as Fittipaldi breaks very, very early And we end up nearly actually spinning the car. We've locked our fronts up, and we're actually quite a long way back from Fittipaldi now, but we settle into P11, and we don't have a lot of spare fuel in this race either. But we're going to take a look of the replay up at the front of the grid, because of course we are a long way back. So you can see straight away off the line, Lauda gets a great start compared to Schumacher, who's very much bogged down, and Senna also had a look at Schumacher into turn 1, but I don't believe he did manage to get past. You can see Schumacher just sort of running it out wide so he can take the inside line for turn 2. Side by side though with Senna, and he was very fortunate to actually fend off the Brazilian there, and it is still a Ferrari 1-2, but Lauda has pulled such a big gap up at the front. Very, very impressive. Now you can see Mario Andretti lurking in P4, and as we go now onto the start of lap 2, we can see that Senna and also Andretti are going for moves on Schumacher. Is he going to be able to make it stick? Andretti almost gets pushed out wide and does in fact get pushed out, and he's been passed by I feel like it's Lewis Hamilton. And you can see though that Senna did get past Schumacher, but as we look further down the grid, you can see that it is Giuseppe Farina who is currently defending from Jim Clark and Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi makes 2 positions up, Farina loses 1, and possibly a second to Clark. Yes, he does. So Clark holds P9, and Fittipaldi and Farina have swapped positions. One has gained 2, one has lost 2, and it could be 3 before long if we manage to get a good run on Farina around the outside, but we think better of it, as you know, this early on in the race we don't want to be causing too much damage. But what an action-packed first 2 laps it has been here at Monza. You can see we are, as well, we've made up 2 positions, so we can't be too unhappy, and you can see this big train of super soft runners now. I don't believe the super soft tyres are really going to last too long, probably only about 5 or 6 laps I believe, so if we can hold on to the back of these guys that would be very impressive, because we are going to come into it for the rest of the race. But you can see making up some ground on Jim Clark, who has once again been passed by Farina this time, but we slide it down the inside of the Scotsman, get a little bit leery on the exit, but we do get up into P10 in the end. And now also on lap 3, as we go towards the Ascari chicane, we can see that Emerson Fittipaldi is making a lot of ground there. He's got ahead of both of the Mercedes cars. It's been a great start for him, and we are just sort of hanging onto the back of this train, but trying to pass him once again is Lewis Hamilton. He's already been passed by Fittipaldi, so he re-overtakes him. And now as we go onto the pit straight, this is going to be very interesting. Everybody apart from Fittipaldi is going to have the DRS. They go 3 wide. Fangio makes it 4 wide. We are going to make it 5 wide. Surely this can't end well. And we are in the wall. We are in the wall. We should not have made it 5 wide. That is a big mistake. We've lost half of our front wing, and we've made 2 illegal overtakes on Andretti and Hakkinen. But oh my lord, what on earth just happened there? As we take a look at the replay in slow motion, it was just never going to work. We got our wheels tangled with Fangio, go straight into the wall. Look at replay with Fangio, you can just see how far ahead we actually go. And then we have to slow up for Hakkinen and Andretti to re-overtake us. But after all of that, we actually ended up overtaking some cars, so that was pretty baffling, to be honest. It didn't tell us to give the positions back, so we didn't, and we were left with a broken front wing. So on lap 4, along with a lot of the other super soft runners, we actually come into the pit lane. So this is going to be interesting, because I'm pretty sure this has completely messed up our strategy, and probably means that we won't be able to run the super soft tyres for the whole race. So the advantage that we had over those super soft guys has been completely negated now. We've had to change our front wing, as you can see, a lengthy process, and we are going to go right to the back of the field now. So Fangio and Andretti, interestingly, have gone for the super soft tyres again. So we've gone for the mediums. I believe they are the mandatory set of tyres that you have to run during the Grand Prix. It may be the softs, but I believe it was the mediums, as we lock up into turn 1, which is far from ideal. But yeah, we thought, you know what, we're just going to get this medium stint out of the way at the moment. As we look further ahead, just behind our teammate, we have got Rubens Barrichello fighting with one of the Renaults, and a Brabham as well. I believe it is PK and Prost, as Prost tries to go for the move on Barrichello, and that has not ended well. And then Schumacher, who was pitted already, is right behind them and has gone straight into the Brawn car, and that has caused a safety car to come out. Just look at that. It has been very, very beneficial for us. We have very much got away with one there, as Schumacher is in the gravel. He is not moving at all. But anyway, we're going to take a look at a replay of what happened. So we're going to go on board with Barrichello, and you can see he just gets pushed way out wide. There's nothing he can really do. He gets completely pinched by Prost, and that is why you don't go 3 wide, never mind 5 wide at Monza. And then just look behind, there's just utter carnage. No one was moving, and well, currently we have got Niki Lauda in the lead of this Grand Prix, and he's already made his pit stop as well. Alan Jones in P2, followed by Scheckter in P3. I believe that is Mika Hakkinen in P4. And apart from Niki Lauda, who came into pit whilst the safety car was out, I believe everyone else in the top 10 are the runners that started on those tyres. You can see Emerson Fittipaldi there is doing very, very well. He has already come in for his pit stop, so he's managed to jump a few cars as well. So fair play to him. And we can see that Senna is a long way down the field there. So once again, safety cars just don't seem to benefit Ayrton Senna whatsoever, but we are in P16 after all of that, actually ahead of our teammate, as Alan Prost is out of the race immediately on the restart as we go up towards the front of the grid. It's been a good restart for Lauda, and it has also been a good one for Mika Hakkinen, who's going to take a look into turn 1 but thinks better of it. And I believe everyone has actually stayed in position apart from ourselves. We tried to go for a move as someone was actually in the pit lane, I believe, there. Or it may have been Prost. No, there's someone in the pit lane. So I'm not quite sure who that was. But anyway, we've got up to P15, so I can't really complain. Schumacher now is right behind us. So he's overtaken our teammate. But it's not been a great start for the pole sitter. He had a great lap in qualifying, as there's a lot of cars in the pit lane now. It's the guys that went onto the Super Softs who will very much be regretting that. But anyway, yes, Schumacher, not been a great race for him so far. We're trying to make it a good race for us by going down the inside of Brabham up into P10. And we've also nipped past Jim Clark. Now, this train has been headed, I believe it was by Jackie Stewart in the Tyrrell. Hence why everyone was going slowly. We know that the Tyrrell has been off the pace this season. But I'm not complaining because it is bringing us right back into play, and it's going to give us a chance now to go down the inside of Hamilton. But once again, we think better of it. There is still 16 laps left in this Grand Prix, and we want a car by the end of it. But we're just going to take a look at the replay of there in turn 1. You can see Jim Clark just locks up going into turn 1 and lets us by. But now Hamilton is going to go for a move on Jackie Stewart as we go towards the Ascari chicane. And he was looking for a double overtake there, but that was never going to work. Hamilton goes into Jenson Button, I believe, and now is looking to pass Ayrton Senna. But just look at this massive train of cars. I believe it was Button, Hamilton and Senna that all came to blows. So they're going to be slow as we go towards the Parabolica. And they are very, very slow. I think someone may have lost a part of the front wing, but we are going to now go towards the first corner, and thankfully 2 cars pull into the pit lane, because it may have been another scenario where we were going at least 3, maybe even 4 or 5 wide. Fortunately though, that didn't happen, and now Alain Prost was looking for a move there, or is it Fernando Alonso? I couldn't quite tell. One of the Renault drivers was looking for a move on Michael Schumacher. And I now have Jack Brabham between myself and Schumacher, which is good because we know how quick Schumacher is and we need to finish ahead of him, A, for the constructors and B, just for the pride as well, trying to upset the Tifosi on this afternoon. But anyway, a lot of cars have come in for their second pit stops, but with us running the medium tyres, we can stay out for a little bit longer. The same goes for Schumacher, and now on lap 14, he's going to go for a move down the inside. No, he doesn't. He thinks better of it, but he is going to be right there waiting to make a move sooner rather than later. So we're just going to have to be on our best form for this second half of the race. Somehow, we're in P5 and we've managed to find ourselves ahead of Schumacher. But if we're not careful, that might not be for long. And now we can see Schumacher. Is he going to go around the outside or the inside as we go towards the Ascari chicane? He dives towards the inside and he makes the move on ourselves, but he goes a little bit deep there. So he's going to give us the opportunity to come back at him in the second part of the Ascari chicane, and we don't need any second invitation. We're going to be ahead of him, but as we go towards the DRS zone, I believe we are ahead, so he is going to get the DRS onto the main straight, and he's actually passed us momentarily as we go side by side into the Parabolica. This is brilliant stuff, and now Schumacher goes right to the inside. He goes off the track, trying to force us onto the Pirelli signage, but he has the DRS, and somehow we managed to keep up with him. And as we go into turn 1, are we going to outbrake him? Yes, we are. We force him out wide, and that is a brilliant move up into P5 once again, and this is going to be a race-long battle with Schumacher. Now, our tyres aren't looking too great at the moment. We're on 42% wear on the front, and I think we're a little bit more wear on the rears as well, which is interesting. Obviously, there's a few chicanes around here, so we need a lot of traction, but we needed some good traction going into this final corner. We do manage to get the DRS on Schumacher, which could be vital this time, but once again, we're nearly side by side through the Parabolica. He forces us right to the inside this time, almost towards the pit wall. We're trying to hang in his slipstream, but we've got to pull out soon if we are going to make a move into turn 1, and we managed to do so with the DRS, and this is brilliant stuff between myself and Schumacher. It's just incredible to see this. This is what the Legends career mode is all about. Yes, we are 45% on the rear left, so yeah, front left is pretty much the same as the rears. It's just that front right which is currently surviving, but we're going to have to come into the pit lane pretty soon if our lap times aren't to dramatically drop off. But we're still on lap 16. And would you believe it, we've only actually been battling with Schumacher for a couple of laps, and this is already how much action we've had, but we dip a wheel on the grass, and wow, that was very, very clumsy from myself, and we are down behind Schumacher. But fortunately, we've probably picked a reasonably good position, because there's another DRS zone coming up. But are we even going to be within a second? You can just see now how much quicker Schumacher is at this stage of the race. He's obviously on the same set of tyres, but I believe his are probably a couple of laps newer as well, because he pitted just before the safety car came out, whereas we were a lap before that. But he, in fact, takes this opportunity to come into the pit lane. We decided to do the opposite of what Schumacher has done. We're going to leave it for at least another lap and try and extend this advantage. Hope that Schumacher does come into maybe a little bit of traffic as we go now up into P4, but that is not going to help us whatsoever. Another clumsy mistake from ourselves. We're really not helping ourselves this afternoon, but meanwhile, Schumacher has just emerged from his pit box, and where is he going to come out in this Grand Prix? It seems an eternity until you can turn the pit limiter off down this pit lane, as you've got cars doing 220 miles an hour. But Schumacher comes out of the pit lane and he makes contact with one of the Williams cars, so he's come out in the middle of a pack headed by the Tyrrell car. But there you can see it's Nigel Mansell was trying to go for a move on Lewis Hamilton, but after that mistake, he's been left without a front wing, and he is going to fall right to the back of the field. So Schumacher there, as you can see, battling with Hamilton. So the longer he does that, the better for me. But anyway, lap 17, it's been one extra lap. That is all that we're going to do. And we're going to go onto the soft tyres now, which I do believe are actually the mandatory tyre. I don't think it was actually the medium. So, yeah, we're going to have to go onto the softs at some point, or else I probably would have gone for the mediums to the end. But anyway, we've got, what is it, 10 laps to go? It's going to be touch and go as to whether these tyres are going to make it to the end. We're going to do our best to try and manage them. Obviously, those medium tyres managed to last, was it 13 laps, I believe? So we did a pretty good stint on them. But I've completely forgot. We actually started the race on the soft tyres, so we could have gone for either tyre. But anyway, that's besides the point. We've come out on the soft tyres. We're going to try and possibly run them to the end, but if not, we'll go for the super softs. And we actually come out ahead of Michael Schumacher, which is critical. So he is down in about P10 at the moment, as Vettel is also in the pit lane, and we've got Jack Brabham behind us and Jim Clark ahead. So I believe this is pretty much going to be the running order to the end. I think everyone has now made their final pit stops, and as Jim Clark came into the pit lane the lap after that, So, after all the pit stops have been done, we're sat in P6 behind Emerson Fittipaldi, who has had a good few races, to be fair to him, in that Lotus car, but it's still Niki Lauda in the lead, crucially for him. So it looks like, as we go to the 2 flyaway races at the end of the season, that Niki Lauda, bar any problems, is going to be leading the championship. But on lap 20, you can see as we go into the final corner, there are raindrops falling, and all of a sudden, it seems to be falling pretty heavily. This back end of the track has just been hit with rain, and all of a sudden we need to make another pit stop. This time it is for the wet tyres, or the intermediate tyres. So you can see Schumacher's probably about 2 seconds behind us, so that extra lap really did help. But now it is a completely different ball game. We are going to be on the intermediate tyres. Is Brabham going to be able to get ahead of Schumacher? Yes, he is. So there is still a car between myself and Schumacher, but just look at that. As we were at the end of lap 20, you could barely see the rain on the screen, and all of a sudden, at the start of lap 21, we have torrential, or not torrential rain, but rain enough for the intermediate. So we're just running through what the top order is looking like, and the top 3 are yet to pit. So that is Vettel, Senna, and also Niki Lauda. Lauda has got an incredible lead. I believe it was Mika Hakkinen in P2. So we're going to take a look at what those two are going to do as Lauda peels off into the pit lane. I believe that Senna and Vettel will also be following in, but we're going to take a look at the pit stop from the Ferrari guys. They fit the intermediates, pretty slick stop that must have been sub 2.5 seconds. But now you can see Senna coming into the pit lane. That's just how much of a lead he actually had. And Hakkinen has already passed Sebastian Vettel, but he's got a lot of ground to make up if he is to get ahead of Lauda. And sure enough, Lauda does emerge in the lead, probably about 10 seconds ahead of Hakkinen as well. So he's done very, very well this race. It's McLaren 2 and 3 though, so they can't really complain with that, with Alan Jones putting in a smashing performance for the Williams team in P4. Fittipaldi 5th, us in 6th, and Schumacher has now dispatched of Jack Brabham and is directly behind us, only a couple of seconds behind, and by lap 22 that gap was closed even more, and he's going to now try and move down the inside into the Parabolica. It's his favourite position to try and pass us. Fortunately, DRS has been disabled now. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, however we may look on it, now we wish we did have some DRS, as it once again just keeps forcing us to the inside of the track. Are we going to try and make a move now into turn 1? Yes, we are, and oh, this would be a crucial move if we were to get ahead of Schumacher, and we do manage to do so. We've still got to do this for another 5 laps, but boy, this has been a relentless Italian Grand Prix. I'm almost losing my voice. There's been that much action. But anyway, we're still on lap 23, and as I've mentioned, the pressure is just relentless from Schumacher at the moment. We run wide there, nearly into the gravel. Fortunately, we didn't total it, but doing a Tokyo drift there through the Ascari chicane is far from ideal, and Schumacher unsurprisingly pounces on our misdemeanor. And as we go through the Parabolica, we're going to be the one once again in the slipstream. And this is looking like a tall order now. No DRS. And just look at how much Schumacher is pulling away. It's going to take some incredible move if we are to get ahead of him before the end of this Grand Prix. But you can see actually we are gaining. And if we do pull up a massive move on the brakes, which we do try to do, we actually somehow manage to stay ahead of Schumacher. I just don't know what is going on at this stage. And for a few laps we actually managed to fend him off, which was well, a little bit different to what I was used to in the previous laps, but we are now on lap 26, so there's just over a lap to go in this Grand Prix. Nothing else has changed in the top 5. We are still somehow in 6th position ahead of Schumacher, and we've got to defend from him for just over 1 lap. Now he is going to go for his move. He's been biding his time for the last few laps, making sure his tyres are in good condition for the final lap of the Grand Prix, and this is a wonderful camera angle as we sweep round the outside of Schumacher. Probably the best move that we've pulled pulled on him all day. But now he's the one in the slipstream, and before we've even got to the start-finish line, he is side by side, and he's actually passed us. And we are trying to move to the inside, but we can't do so, and it was almost as if he brake checked us then, and he squeezes us right to the outside of the track. Somehow we switch to the inside, he slightly outbrakes himself, and that was some aggressive driving from the both of us, especially Schumacher, and hopefully now we've actually got ahead of him for the rest of the Grand Prix. We have about 3/4 of the lap left. We go down into lean because we've got to save some fuel if we aren't to run out. You can see it's flashing red in the bottom corner, but as we go through sector 1, we get over a second ahead. And now as we go towards the final corner, this is how dominant Lauda has been. We're just going through the first sector split. Niki Lauda comes through the final corner, and it looks as if he is going to take victory on home turf for Ferrari, and a brilliant win in front of the Tifosi for that man. And there you can see, following each other home in second and third are the McLaren boys. It's going to be a double podium for the team from Woking. And there you can see, coming through the final corner is Mika Hakkinen. A brilliant drive from him from outside of the top 10. And Senna has been on it all day. P3 for him. And now we go back to the real action in P6 and P7. Can we fend off Schumacher for this final corner? We're pretty good through the Ascari chicane. But now, as we go towards the Parabolica, it's going to be neck and neck. And Schumacher looks as if he's ahead at this stage. Are we going to be able to take him? We actually managed to outbrake him there into the final corner, but we go onto the curbing and we get a little bit out of shape. Schumacher's going to try and get us on the run to the line. The checkered flag is here, and there you can see, almost side by side across the line, and we managed to take P6. What a race. We beat Michael Schumacher somehow. But boy, oh boy, what a race that was. And in all that drama, Niki Lauda takes the victory. A very happy Maurizio Arrivabene there. And what a win. His third of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Lauda is the only driver in the series to have actually won more than one race. But a brilliant victory for the Ferrari man, and there you can see the full results. It's Lauda from Hakkinen, Senna, Jones and Fittipaldi, and we managed to get ahead of Schumacher. Brabham, Vettel and Andretti rounded off the points. A disappointing afternoon, in fact, for Alfa Romeo, and an afternoon which held so much promise. No points as well for the Mercedes team. Hamilton missed out in P11, and there you can see, all the way down his 17th is Fangio. He made 5 pit stops, so not quite sure what happened for him. And there you can see Alain Prost and Rubens Barrichello were the 2 DNFs. So disappointing afternoons for them. But now we can take a look at the drivers' standings. And it is Niki Lauda that leads, of course, going into the final 2 rounds. He has a 12-point lead ahead of myself, with Emerson Fittipaldi a further 26 points behind, I believe. And then Senna, who's had a good last few races, is up in P4. So a very good round for McLaren. And that actually takes them up to P3 in the standings. Not too far behind Red Bull, which is, of course, my team. We've scored the majority of the points for Red Bull. But Vettel did manage to get back on the scoreboard today. But boys, what a race that was. A cracking Italian Grand Prix, arguably the race of the season. Let me know what your thoughts were down in the comments. But until my next video, guys, do take care. Bye-bye.